Hi, it's Bree from Mars here. I've just turned up at my campsite. Today I'm going to teach you how to set up the Rover camper trailer. Now these instructions cover both the lifestyle and the deluxe models. We know it's not always possible, but the first thing to look for when you arrive at a campsite is level ground. This will make setting up your camper a lot easier. Once you've found level ground, the next step is to let down and adjust the 4 stabilising legs. In the deluxe model, you'll find the pole storage boxes on top of the trailer, but in this lifestyle model, the poles are stored underneath the bed. Unlatch the spare wheel holder and swing it away. It's important to raise this pole so you don't put undue pressure on the tent poles as you open it. Once you've raised the pole, you need to release about 2 meters of strap. On the deluxe model, you'd have an electric winch. So I'm 165 centimeters tall, so I carry around a little step ladder when I go camping. There's plenty of storage to put it in the trailer, so it's no biggie. With enough strap released, hook it onto the main lid and then proceed to unlatch the camper. So once you're on level ground, you've got the legs down, you've swung the spare wheel out, the winch is latched. Just check behind the camper to make sure that there's no kids or pets in the way, and it's now time to open up the tent. Remember, I've released about 2 meters of strap, so now I'm going to lift the lid until I tension the strap. There are 2 gas struts at the back of the trailer which are opening the camper, and I'm just controlling the pace. So at this stage you've opened up your tent and you've got out all of your poles and laid them on the ground. Now we suggest putting the different types of poles together, and in a moment I'll take you through what all of those differences are. So first of all, we have these short poles. They've got a hook on one end and a spike on the other. You'll use these when you're setting up your storm windows. This next pole is called an upright. It has a spike on one end and a stopper on the other. Now it comes in 3 sizes. We've got the small pole, the medium and the tall. Now you'll notice both the medium and tall poles have a little hole, one here and another one here. The medium and tall poles are very important because they're the ones you'll use to set up the awning. This is a multi-purpose pole which can be used in many different ways around the camper trailer. It has a C-clip on one end and a stopper on the other. This is another pole you'll use to set up the awning, and you'll have at least 3 of these. They have a hook on one end and a flat on the other. These 2 poles have a flat on either end. The short one is used to set up the windows and the longer one to set up the awning. This pole has a very specific job, and there's only one of them in the set. It has a C-clip on one end and is flat on the other. These are spreader poles that have a C-clip on either end. They come in a couple of different sizes. In the kit, you'll find plenty of guy ropes and different size pegs to use as you please. There's also a few of these little guys, which I'll show you how to use later. Now I know I've shown you a lot of different poles, so maybe now's a good time to go and get a cuppa, come back, and I'll teach you how we use each one to set up the camper. So to set up the main tent, you need 2 short spreader poles with a C-clip on either end. I'll show you where they go in a minute. 2 longer spreader poles with the C-clip on either end. And then you need 4 multi-purpose poles, or corner stays if that's how you refer to them. Now remember, these have a C-clip on one end and a stopper on the other. We've got 2 of the longer size and 2 of the shorter size. These 2 shorter ones will go towards the bed head. The 2 longer ones will go towards the far end of the trailer. Okay, so I'm about to head on into the tent. I've got my 2 corner stays or multi-purpose poles for the bed head and my other 2 corner stays for this far end of the camper. So I've just put in the 2 longer corner stays on these ends and I'm about to jump up on the bed and pop in the shorter one. So the camper comes with some pre-assembled poles. I've just extended these before putting up the 2 longer corner stays. I'll do the exact same thing over the bed. So I've just extended the 2 pre-assembled poles and put in the 2 shorter corner stays. This really is a job for 2 people. It just makes it that little bit easier. Now, as you can see, it doesn't quite look right just yet. So from here on out, it's about putting in the spreader poles and just adjusting things until you're satisfied with how it looks. So as you can see, the tent's looking pretty good. I've just lifted up the main pole to raise the roof, and now I'm going around and putting in some spreader poles to really tighten up the camper. So a shorter spreader pole goes here, and a longer spreader pole here. So to recap, on either side of the camper we have a long corner stay, a short spreader pole, a long spreader pole, and a short corner stay. Okay, so far I've shown you how to put up the main tent. If you're not going to use an awning, then you're pretty much done. It's time to roll out the barbecue and start relaxing. But I'm going to show you how to put up the awning. And to do that, we're actually going to lower down the tent and just do a few little tweaks before we get going. Come with me. So when you put up the awning, it's a really good idea to get out all the poles you'll need and then lay them on the ground exactly where you're going to use them. So the poles you need are 5 poles that have a stopper on one end and a spike on the other. You want to identify which is the tallest pole because you'll use that in the middle of the awning. Next up, you want 3 poles that have hooks on one end and a flat side on the other. The next 3 poles have a flat side on either end, and the lucky last has a C-clip and a flat on the other. When you're putting up the awning, look for the 3 attachment points across the front of the camper. Make sure you put the hook through the attachment point, release the latch, and extend the pole down to rest it on the ground. So as you can see, I've attached some of the poles to the front of the camper. The others I've put on the ground more or less where they're going to go. And now I'm going to zip up the awning before I start assembling the pole structure. Okay, so now it's time to zip up the awning. Remember this little guy that I showed you earlier? So once you've put the pole through the eyelet, pop this little cap on top. It helps to waterproof the tent, and then your guy rope. This isn't really a job for one, so with the help of a crew member, we've got up most of the awning now. As you can see, we've raised the main bow of the tent, and we've been going around and adjusting and elongating the poles so that the canvas sits nice and tight over the frame. Next, we're going to roll up some windows and lay out the floor and the walls. If you're going to enclose this full outside area, as we will today, the next step is to attach the draft skirt. It's super easy. You just attach the Velcro to the Velcro on the main tent. So the next step is to attach the pantry curtain. It's attached with a zip and Velcro at the top, and then you can open this big door here to access your pantry and storage box. There's plenty of windows inside the camper. To open them, all you need to do is undo the zip, roll up the canvas and attach it with the toggle. So to set up the flooring, just unroll the tarp and then Velcro it along the entire length of the camper trailer. So remember earlier when I showed you that one pole that had a C-clip on one end and a flat end on the other? Well, this is where we use it. So it's used here to extend the awning all the way out over the top of the pantry area. If you've got another person on hand, the material that makes up the walls of the awning comes in quite big pieces, so it's a great job for 2 people. And you don't have to put all 3 pieces up, just do whatever suits you. To set up the walls, it's a great idea to put the material along the ground around the annex and then grab a buddy so one of you can hold up the material while the other one does the zip and the Velcro. So a great tip when you're folding up the windows is to fold the canvas in on itself and then roll it up. When you get all the way to the top, you can just fasten it with the toggle. So now that we've got the walls up, we can attach them to the floor with these 2 Velcro strips. just press along the entire length of the camper, and when you get to these loops, pull them forward and peg them into the ground. One of the things I love the best about the Rover is that you can remove this wall and create one big living space. So I've got a little tip to share with you that's going to make packing down and setting up next time that little bit easier. So even though all the poles supplied are numbered and come with a diagram, a little trick, after you've set up the tent for the first time, put a little marking on the poles to show how far they've been extended, and that'll make life even easier next time. Well, here we are. This is the full Rover setup with awning, walls and floor. Now, all those poles I showed you at the start, you don't need to use all of them to set up the awning, but you can definitely add a few to create a bit more shaded area like we have today.